And that's something we don't like to do, but over the times with the bird flu and everything, our cost of turkey legs went up $37 to $47 a box.
Strawberries this year have gone up about 25% for us. Strawberries are one of those things that are affected by weather and been a lot of rain, and that deteriorates the quality of strawberries, therefore making short demand.
Can we talk about how much the fair has gone downhill? All we got now is overpriced food and dried turkey legs.
Remember when the state fair was the highlight of the year? Ferris wheels spinning under the lights, funnel cakes dusted in sugar, and the smell of corn dogs drifting through the summer air. It was chaos, but the good kind, the sound of families laughing, rides creaking, and small towns coming together for 1 week that actually felt special. But somewhere along the way, that energy disappeared. The tickets got pricier, the crowds thinner, and the magic quieter. Today, it's not uncommon to pay $30 just to park, $10 for a corn dog, $15 for a funnel cake, and $20 for a turkey leg that used to cost $3. Attendance is down double digits across the country. Vendors are leaving, and entire fairs are struggling to break even. So, what happened? How did something so American, so rooted in community, turn into another overpriced ghost of itself? Tonight, we're breaking down 9 reasons why state fairs are fading away, and the quiet truth about where all the fun went. Number 9. The price of fun. For decades, the state fair was supposed to be the cheap thrill, the family tradition that didn't break the bank. But now, that same day out feels more like a financial negotiation. A family of 4 used to spend maybe $50 and come home full of sugar and memories. Today, that same family can drop over $150 before they've even stepped off the parking lot. Parking alone? $30. Tickets for 4? Nearly $60. And once you're inside, everything has a price tag that feels like it belongs at a ballpark, not a fairground. Corn dogs, once $3, now cost $10. Funnel cakes? $15. And turkey legs, that used to feel like a treat, now go for $20 each. That's almost $80 before you even look at the rides. And the rides are no bargain either. 15 tickets for a single spin on something that looks like it was packed up in a suitcase last week. Parents joke about it online, but the frustration is real. You're not just paying for nostalgia anymore, you're paying to prove it still exists. Across the country, the math is catching up. In Texas, attendance at the state fair dropped by more than 16% last year. Tulsa saw over 100,000 fewer visitors. Families are skipping entirely, not because they've stopped caring, but because the math stopped making sense. Even vendors admit it's not greed, it's survival. Fuel prices, booth fees, insurance, ingredient costs, everything's gone up. So they pass it along to the customer, who then skips next year. And the cycle repeats. What used to be the most democratic form of fun, where anyone could afford a slice of fried dough and a laugh, is now quietly becoming a luxury. The fair was supposed to be loud, messy, and a little unpolished. But now, it's just expensive and tired. The crowds are smaller, the smiles shorter, and the magic, once so effortless, feels calculated. Because fun isn't supposed to feel like a receipt. And yet, somewhere between the ticket booth and the food stall, that's exactly what it became. Number 8. Vendors on the edge. Every state fair had that one booth you remembered. The family that deep-fried everything from Oreos to butter. The old couple who sold homemade lemonade under the same striped tent every year. Those weren't just food stands, they were part of the fair's DNA. But now, one by one, those booths are vanishing. Walk down a Midway today, and you'll notice the gaps. Empty spaces where neon menus used to buzz. Signs that read, "Closed early," or "Back next year," even though you know they won't be. Because running a booth at the fair has become a gamble few can afford. For small vendors, the math stopped working. Ingredient costs have spiked. Fuel prices doubled. Booth fees climbed into the thousands. And insurance, once an afterthought, now eats half a profit margin. Even a single bad weekend of rain can erase months of planning. Take strawberries, a basic staple for every shortcake stand. Farmers say they're paying 25% more this year because of bad weather. Turkey leg sellers report their costs jumping from $37 to $47 a box. That's before they even pay staff or rent space. So when you see a $20 turkey leg, it's not greed, it's math. But here's the part that really hurts. When the family-run stands disappear, the soul goes with them. Those booths weren't about profit margins or brand logos, they were about community. People came back year after year because they knew the faces behind the counter. Now, more and more, fairs fill those spaces with corporate pop-ups, branded drink carts, frozen dessert franchises, pre-packaged everything. It's efficient, it's profitable, but it's lifeless. Vendors call it survival pricing. Visitors call it a ripoff. And somewhere between the two, the heart of the fair got priced out. Because the fair was never just about the rides, it was about the handshake across the counter, the small-town magic, the sense that you were part of something real. Now, every booth looks the same, every price feels the same, and every bite tastes like it was made by a spreadsheet. When the locals pack up and leave, the fair doesn't just lose its flavor, it loses its reason to exist. Number 7. The insurance spiral. Fairs used to run on trust. You didn't check the bolts on the Ferris wheel or question who set up the tilt-a-whirl. You just assumed someone somewhere made sure it was safe. But that quiet trust is cracking, and the price of keeping it alive is crushing the very people who built the fair in the first place. Over the last decade, ride accidents have gone viral more often than the rides themselves. Clips of spinning arms breaking loose, carnival rides collapsing mid-turn, one shaky video can undo an entire season's worth of business. And every time it happens, insurance companies tighten the screws. Premiums that once cost a few thousand per season now stretch into the tens of thousands. For smaller fairs, that number is fatal. Many of the operators are family businesses, traveling from town to town with the same set of rides they've maintained for decades. But the math doesn't work anymore. You can't charge $5 a ticket when your insurance alone costs more than your trailer. So they raise prices, or they leave. And every time one leaves, the fair gets a little emptier, a little quieter, a little less fun. Larger fairs, the ones backed by state funds or big sponsors, survive by cutting corners elsewhere. Fewer rides, shorter hours, less staff. Because they have to make the books balance. It's safety by subtraction. And for visitors, that means a smaller midway, longer lines, and higher prices for the few rides that remain. It's a lose-lose cycle. The public demands more safety. The insurance companies raise the cost. The fairs pass it down to vendors and families. And eventually, the thing that was supposed to be carefree starts to feel corporate and cold. Ask any ride operator, and they'll tell you the fear isn't the rides breaking, it's the system breaking. Because once the premiums outweigh the profits, tradition stops making sense. The fair was built on motion lights, laughter, noise. But now, even the rides spin slower. Because when safety becomes a luxury, joy becomes collateral damage. Number 6. The generation gap. Once upon a time, the fair didn't need advertising. It was the event of the year, a neon promise that something exciting was finally happening in town. You didn't scroll to find it. You just heard the music, saw the lights, and showed up. But that world doesn't exist anymore. Today's younger crowd lives online, not on the midway. They want moments, not memories, something they can film, post, and move on from before the funnel cake cools. And the state fair? It never adapted. Its rides still creak like they're auditioning for a horror movie. Its games look the same as they did 30 years ago. The prizes? Faded plush toys that feel more haunted than nostalgic. Meanwhile, other attractions evolved. Theme parks built immersive worlds. Concerts turned into visual spectacles. Even food trucks learned how to brand themselves into Instagram bait. The fair, once the original influencer of small-town life, somehow forgot how to influence anyone at all. Ask anyone under 30 when they last went to a fair, and most will shrug. It's not that they hate it, it's that it feels irrelevant. A place their parents took them, not somewhere they'd choose themselves. And for an event built on excitement, that kind of apathy is deadly. Attendance data backs it up. Over the past 5 years, surveys show the average fairgoer's age has climbed sharply. More retirees, fewer teens. Even the music acts reflect it: nostalgia tours, tribute bands, and radio hits from 2 decades ago. The fair is stuck playing yesterday's playlist to an audience that's aging out. But it's not just marketing, it's mindset. You can't build excitement in a world where thrill lives on a screen. You can't compete with fireworks that fit inside a phone. The fair's biggest problem isn't that it got old, it's that it stopped evolving. One fair executive summed it up perfectly. We're not losing people, we're losing relevance. And relevance is the one thing you can't buy back with sponsorships or nostalgia. Because in the end, the fair's biggest ride isn't the Ferris wheel, it's time. And time doesn't wait for anyone, not even tradition. Number 5. The big park problem. Once upon a time, the State Fair was the closest thing most people had to Disneyland. It had rides, lights, fried food, and a feeling that anything could happen under those dusty summer skies. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being magic because the competition got bigger, faster, and far more sophisticated. When Walt Disney built Disneyland in the 1950s, it wasn't just an amusement park. It was a blueprint for control, clean, efficient, and relentlessly marketed. By the time Six Flags, Universal, and even regional water parks joined the scene, the fair's messy charm suddenly looked outdated. You can't compete with a billion-dollar fireworks show when your Ferris wheel squeaks like it's held together with hope and duct tape. The difference isn't just scale, it's experience. Theme parks mastered the illusion of perfection: air-conditioned lines, mobile apps, fireworks timed to music. The fair still runs on paper tickets and volunteers yelling, "Keep your hands inside the ride." And while that used to feel authentic, now it feels like a throwback that forgot it was won. Economically, the odds are brutal. Megaparks can absorb inflation, negotiate bulk contracts, and run year-round. Fairs pop up for 2 weeks, pray for good weather, and hope their funnel cake stand doesn't flood during a storm. One bad season and a small fair loses everything. Meanwhile, Disney raises prices again and still sells out. Families feel the contrast too. For roughly the same $200 they'd spend on rides, food, and parking at a fair, they could drive to a major park and make a weekend out of it. Predictable, safe, and air-conditioned. The fair can't promise any of those things. Even marketing has turned against it. Disney sells nostalgia wrapped in innovation. The fair sells nostalgia wrapped in dust. And that might be the saddest part. The fair taught America how to dream big, but it never learned how to scale that dream. Now, when kids beg for rides, parents don't think Ferris wheel. They think roller coasters with movie soundtracks. Because the fair didn't just lose to competition. It lost to the very idea it inspired. Number 4. The vendor monopoly. If you've been to a state fair lately, you've probably noticed something strange. Every booth looks the same. Same fonts, same banners, same fried smell that somehow tastes like paperwork. What used to feel handcrafted and homegrown now feels copy-pasted. And that's not your imagination. The fair didn't just lose its flavor, it outsourced it. For decades, local families ran the midway. They built booths from scratch, drove across counties, and passed recipes down through generations. But now, most of those mom-and-pop vendors are gone, replaced by regional concession companies, the fairground version of fast food chains. Instead of Betty's Lemonade, you get Sunshine Beverages, LLC. Instead of a handwritten sign, you get corporate vinyl. It's all part of what insiders call concession consolidation. Big operators bid for entire sections of the fair, win long-term contracts, and control every booth from tacos to turkey legs. The result? Predictability, efficiency, and total loss of character. To the visitor, it still looks like dozens of unique stands. But behind the scenes, they're often run by one or two large companies with shared staff, shared supply chains, and identical price sheets. That's why a funnel cake in Iowa costs exactly the same as one in Texas, because it might literally come from the same supplier. For the fair, it solves a problem. Big concessionaires handle logistics, insurance, and payroll. No more chasing dozens of small vendors for paperwork. But in solving that headache, they also erase the heart. Because the fair was never supposed to feel efficient. It was supposed to feel alive, messy, local, unpredictable. Ask longtime fairgoers, and they'll tell you the difference immediately. The lemonade doesn't taste right. The burgers are fine, but not familiar. The person behind the counter doesn't remember you because they're not from here. And the irony? The very system built to stabilize the fair is what's making it forgettable. When everything's run by a contract, nothing feels like community. You don't come back for consistency, you come back for connection. And that's what's quietly disappearing. Because the fair didn't just trade small vendors for big ones. It traded authenticity for efficiency. And you can't deep fry that back into existence. Number 3. The safety reputation. For generations, the fair was built on a single assumption that everything was safe enough to forget about. You didn't ask who checked the bolts on the Ferris wheel or when the last inspection happened. You just bought your tickets, strapped in, and screamed your lungs out. That quiet confidence held the entire experience together. Until it didn't. Over the past few years, safety headlines have started to overshadow the fun. Videos of rides breaking mid-spin, fairs evacuated after mechanical failures, fights breaking out on the midway, stories that travel faster online than the fair itself ever could. And each one chips away at something more valuable than any ticket sale trust. In 2023 alone, more than 500 amusement ride injuries were reported across the United States. Some minor, some tragic. But all it takes is one viral clip, one ride stalling with passengers hanging in the air, and suddenly, every fair looks suspect. Parents start second-guessing. Insurance rates go up again. And even the people who still show up do so with hesitation in their eyes. The damage runs deeper than perception. Behind the scenes, maintenance crews are stretched thin. Inspections vary by state, sometimes by county. Older rides, once rebuilt lovingly each season, now operate under tighter budgets and older parts. A perfect storm of wear, cost, and pressure. And the fair can't PR its way out of this. Once that sense of security cracks, it doesn't matter how many lights are flashing, people stop relaxing. The laughter feels shorter, the ride's emptier, the energy off. Because trust isn't something you can rebuild with duct tape and signage. Even the vendors feel it. They see fewer families staying late, fewer kids begging for one more ride. The fairgrounds still glow at night, but it's a softer glow, one that hides more than it celebrates. The irony? The fair was supposed to be where people came to escape reality. Now it's where reality keeps catching up. And in an age where everyone's filming everything, one small mistake can take down an entire tradition. Because the moment people stop feeling safe, they stop showing up. And once they stop showing up, the fair stops existing, even if the lights are still on. Number 2, the culture drift. There was a time when the fair wasn't just entertainment. It was connection. The place where your neighbors showed up, your school band played, and your town felt like a community instead of a zip code. You'd run into people you hadn't seen in years, share food you didn't need, and somehow remember why small towns mattered. For 1 week, the world felt local again. But that sense of belonging has quietly disappeared, not because people stopped caring, but because they found a new version of it online. Social media became the new fairground. It has rides, likes, shares, and endless scrolling loops. It has performers, influencers instead of jugglers. And it even has its own midway and algorithm designed to keep you walking in circles. Why stand in line for a corn dog when your phone offers infinite dopamine? The irony is cruel. The fair was once the physical version of what the internet pretends to be. Spontaneous, social, unpredictable. You didn't need Wi-Fi to feel connected. You needed a crowd. But crowds are messy, expensive, and harder to control than comment sections. So people stayed home connected to everyone and no one at the same time. Fair organizers have tried to catch up. They've added hashtags, selfie walls, and influencer nights. But none of it feels organic. Because the magic of the fair was never just visual, it was emotional. It was the sound of strangers laughing near the Ferris wheel, the smell of fried dough and dust, the feeling that you were part of something bigger than yourself. No algorithm can recreate that. Attendance data reflects it too. Rural fairs, once thriving, now rely on older generations to stay afloat. Younger crowds barely notice the posters. And for many small towns, the fairgrounds themselves have become year-round reminders of what used to bring people together. Empty barns, rusting gates, faded banners that read "See you next summer," though everyone knows they won't. The digital town square may have won, but it's a hollow victory. Because a comment thread can't replace a handshake, and likes don't smell like popcorn or gasoline from a bumper car track. The fair didn't just lose money, it lost meaning. And when a place built on community forgets how to gather, it becomes something worse than outdated. It becomes invisible. Number 1. The magic tax. If there's one reason state fairs are fading, it isn't one thing. It's everything added up quietly, like loose change in a jar you didn't realize was empty. The parking fees, the insurance, the food markups, the missing vendors, the empty rides, the crowds that never came back. It's the slow bleed of joy being itemized. A nickel here, a dollar there, until magic itself starts to feel taxable. Economists have a term for it: price fatigue. It's what happens when people stop noticing the individual costs and start noticing the feeling of being drained. That's the fair now. A place that still smells like popcorn, still glows at night, but feels different. You can sense it walking through the gates, that soft disappointment that everything costs more but delivers less. For organizers, the math looks fine on paper. Revenues might even rise, thanks to higher prices and vendor fees. But in reality, the crowds are shrinking. 2 million visitors one year, 400,000 fewer the next. You can't chart that kind of loss on a balance sheet. It's cultural, emotional, invisible. The fair was supposed to be the great equalizer, rich or broke. Everyone stood in the same line, ate the same fried dough, rode the same rides. But slowly, the fair started mirroring the world outside its gates. Tiered, corporate, and a little bit cynical. Even nostalgia has a surcharge now. And that's the tragedy, because the fair didn't die from a scandal or a sudden collapse. It faded from 1,000 small decisions that made sense in the short term and destroyed it in the long one. Each fee, each policy, each compromise chipped away at what made the fair matter. Not the rides, not the food, but the feeling that for a few days, life could be simple again. Now, the lights still blink, the Ferris wheel still turns, and the speakers still play country hits from a decade ago. But the crowds aren't really listening. They're calculating. And the only thing heavier than the heat is the quiet realization that maybe the fun's gone for good, because the fair didn't fall apart. It was priced apart. One surcharge, one disappointment, one forgotten reason to care at a time. The fair didn't vanish overnight. It just aged. A little more expensive, a little less honest, until the laughter turned into memory. Maybe it still looks the same, the lights, the smell, the sound of wheels on metal. But something's missing now, and you can feel it. Because the fair was never just about rides or prizes. It was about people showing up. And somewhere along the way, we stopped doing that.